What is up, guys? Frosty 0232 here for another Frosty Features. Today we have our final member of the Death Seed team coming to Marvel Strike Force for our Apocalypse situations, and what we are looking at is the new Marvel Strike Force character, Nemesis. So if you haven't seen a Frosty Features before, what this is a comic book background on the tunes that you use in Marvel Strike Force. So typically I stick to the 616 storyline, and this one we're going to hop around a couple of times, but just so you know, 616 main canon, we're gonna dive into it. Here we go. So to kick off a new section of Frosty Features, we're gonna hop right into According to Scopely. So according to Scopely, this is who Nemesis is. While serving as the previous Horseman of Famine, Autumn Rolfson had an affair with the mutant tyrant Apocalypse, leading to the birth of her son, William. Autumn feared that Apocalypse would view her son as a threat and kill him, so she went into hiding, raising her son by herself. William had granted immense power when his mutant powers emerged in a form of biofurnace energies. He could generate radioactive plasma and blast bioplasma at a temperature equal to the core of the sun. But this energy was unstable, resulting in the need for William to be trapped within a suit designed to contain his essence. William and his mother remained in hiding until they were found by Archangel when he ascended as Apocalypse's replacement. Now known as Nemesis, he agreed to help Archangel cleanse the world, resulting in confrontations with the likes of Magneto and Psylocke. So that's what Scopely has down for the description of Nemesis. We're gonna rate it here at the end. So while I say everything from the comics, just keep that in mind. So here we go. This is what Scopely wants you to think Nemesis is. So first off, Nemesis is a bunch of different characters in Marvel. There's a lot of people with the name Nemesis. So in this, we're talking about the one that they pointed out, right? And using their stories. But this technically isn't Nemesis. Wait. Name, William Rolfson in the 616, sort of. So, for those of you who've been keeping up with the Frosty Features, check out pretty much any of them. Frosty Features Archangel, Frosty Features Apocalypse. When we talk about Age of Apocalypse, so our main comic book canon is Earth 616. Our Age of Apocalypse canon is Earth 295, okay? So, it's very important for this. So, Nemesis, I'm gonna definitely dive into this a lot. He is only William Rolfson in canon in the 616, not in the 295, not in Age of Apocalypse. His name is never actually mentioned, okay? This gets really confusing. First appearance, X-Men Alpha #1 in 1994. So we're going to talk about two versions, okay, through the whole thing. We'll call one. Let's for fun, let's throw a Nemesis out, right? For fun, let's throw Nemesis out. We're gonna skip ahead a little bit. We're gonna call him Genocide for the 616 and Holocaust for the 295. Okay, so Genocide is 616, Holocaust is 295. The first appearance we see is of he is Nemesis in 1994, but that is our Holocaust version. Okay, powers/abilities. His powers and abilities are different between the 616 and the 295. Okay, so in the main canon storyline, it's a biofurnace. So what he does is he has energy that generates into these essentially like plasma blasts, and he can concentrate them and shoot them like powers, like it said in the Scopely description, like heat from the sun, and he generates that from himself. That's the 616 version. That is the one we were referring to as Genocide. And Holocaust, what he does, he has power similar to that of Autumn Rolfson, his mother in the 295, or his mother in the 616, who drains living energy from people and things. So what Nemesis in the 295 does is he drains energy from things around him, and then he turns it into these plasma blasts, right? So these are really important. These are very important difference, because he needs to be able to essentially take and dish back out, whereas the biofurnace in the 616, he naturally creates these things. This comes into play heavily in the story. So aliases, Genocide and Holocaust. He goes by Nemesis only in the 295, and he doesn't look like this. So he is Nemesis. When he first shows up, as a clan of Akaba. He shows up and he's essentially like a war. He's a spec ops, if you will, for Apocalypse, and he's doing hits, assassinations. He's taking out compounds and things like that. He's generally a cleanser, and he's known as Nemesis. He actually, once he puts this armor on that you see here, he never goes by, write this down, he never goes by Nemesis. So the fact that they called him Nemesis by itself is kind of wrong, right? So when he puts armor on like this, he is either Genocide or Holocaust. Affiliations, the Four Horsemen and Clan Akaba. The Four Horsemen being the Four Horsemen of Apocalypse. We see them through comic history over and over again, and also in our Marvel Strike Force. He just doesn't happen to be a horseman in this run. And the Clan Akaba, this is a clan that sort of worship the offspring and lineage of Apocalypse. So of course he would be a part of that because supposedly he is Apocalypse's son. Who died? His mother. After a while, Archangel kills his mother and kind of puts a lot of things in motion. When it talked about Autumn and he are hiding until Archangel finds him, Archangel actually ends up killing his mom. Background. In the 616 main Marvel canon, he is never known as Nemesis. Fun fact, he's known as Genocide, and Autumn Rolfson has him. She has an affair with Apocalypse. She has him. They run into hiding for exactly the reasons that were displayed in there. They run into hiding. Sorry, I'm blanking. They run into hiding, and because she, like described, they run into hiding. She thinks that Apocalypse is going to be threatened by the power of her son, so she goes into hiding, and then eventually, after Age of Apocalypse and everything happens, an Archangel rises to replace Apocalypse. So this is like a second round of Age of Apocalypse. It's Age of Archangel. Archangel finds him and recruits him, right? So there's a huge gap between the difference in that. Whereas, so that's 616. In the 295, in the Age of Apocalypse storyline, his mother is never revealed, his name is never revealed, and he goes by Nemesis, and he is the hitman. I said this earlier for he's a hitman for Apocalypse. Apocalypse sends him to Mount. I'm trying to remember the name of the mountain. I wrote it down because I knew I was gonna forget it. Wondergore Mountain. So Apocalypse sends him to Wondergore Mountain, which was the lair in the Age of Apocalypse 295. Magneto is the head of the X-Men. He sends him to Wondergore Mountain, and he kills all of the mutants in Wondergore Mountain because Psylocke and Magneto are out on a mission, and he kills everyone, including Scarlet Witch. And he goes on this conquest through Asia, ending up in Japan, where he runs into Sunfire, and he forces Sunfire to more or less drown in the blood of his people, the blood of it there. He kills so many people, so he legitimately gets sent. Apocalypse would send him into groups of people to just mass wipe them out like an atomic bomb. Okay, right? So that's important for later. Power level. So yes, so I wanted to point out Sunfire because check out Frosty Features Sunfire. The Suit, Dark Beast to the rescue. So in the 616 storyline, that version of Genocide, he actually never reveals exactly who gives him his suit. All we know is that he needs it. In the 295, he does not. When he is Nemesis, he does not have a suit. I said that earlier. So when he ends up needing the suit, he essentially he gets more or less killed, and he needs something, his energy, because he's sucking energy from the things around him, and then he's shooting him back out, and he almost becomes pure essence. So Dark Beast gets a hold of him and creates a suit to be able to contain him. So check out Frosty Features Dark Beast. The Suit, yes. 616 and 295 counterpart up for debate. So this is a big comic book thing that I would like to bring up. So typically when you see your Age of Apocalypse people, Weapon X, Wolverine, different versions of Cyclops, different versions of Kitty Pryde, Nightcrawler, whatever, they have the same powers, but they just have a slightly different story than their 616 counterpart because Apocalypse runs the world, right? So, there's a lot of there's a few characters where it doesn't seem like they're actually counterparts to their 295 it doesn't seem like they're actual counterparts to their 616. Genocide, Holocaust, they don't seem like they're actually, they have such similar looks, they have such similar stories, but they don't actually match up very well. So with that, the discrepancies, in the 295, right, Holocaust is the same age as the X-Men, but in the 616, his mother is about 10 years older than them, she's at the age of the New Mutants, right? So they're actually younger. So in the two different universes, there's over a decade's worth of age discrepancy in between which one they are. So when you see Nemesis, when you see Genocide, Holocaust, whatever, he's a teenager, right? He's a teenager in kind of both situations, but they take place at different points in time. So the 616 counterpart is actually, I believe, quite a bit younger than your Age of Apocalypse counter, and also they have different powers. Right, so they do both shoot plasma blasts, but they originate from a different place. They don't actually. They originate from a different place. He shoots the powers, and his reasoning for being contained is completely different. Right, so those are kind of some kind of bigger reasons why there's discrepancies. Also in the 295, he doesn't have a name other than Nemesis and Holocaust. He has no actual physical name. It's only implied that he is the son of an Apocalypse. Fun fact, Nemesis is supposed to be the son of Apocalypse. It said it up there. It's only implied. It's never stated. In the 616, it's stated that he's the son of Apocalypse. So there's a lot of things where they just didn't go into it. And that's, since he originated in Age of Apocalypse, it's kind of actually hard to tie them together. They look the same, and they have sort of similar powers, but that's really it, because the 295 doesn't really go into Nemesis's background very well. So it's kind of up for debate if they're even the same person. But as you saw before, and I hope you've picked up by now, Scopely used both storylines and pushed them together into one character to make their version of Nemesis, who actually isn't called Nemesis all the time. So there we are. Relationships. Apocalypse, father in the 616, maybe the 295. Once again, it is not explicitly stated in the 295 that Apocalypse is his father. It is implied heavily, though, so we can make that assumption. And it is stated that it is his father in the 616. Famine, Autumn Rolfson, is his mother in the 616, explicitly stated in the 295, never even brought up. The OG Four Horsemen, Apocalypse's Four Horsemen that you first see that are just known as War, Famine, Pestilence, and Death. They are technically his half-siblings in the 616 because he is their half-brother. Genesis is his stepmother, that is Apocalypse's wife, adopts him, so he has a bunch of adopted step brothers and sisters because of Genesis and the whole adopting horsemen and all sorts of things. And also the clone of Apocalypse is technically related to him because they share some DNA kind of situation. So there are some nephews and nieces kind of things going on. Real all over the place there. So let's go to notable events. So I've hinted at these things a couple of times, but let's hit it good this time. The name change, right? So we talked about there's Nemesis, there's Genocide, and there's Holocaust. Why is it all over the place? The name change. So the name change, he was Nemesis first. This is what Nemesis looked like. This blonde guy in the black tights. That's what he looked like. So I said Apocalypse sent him to Mount Wundagore. He sent him to Mount Wundagore, and he was like, hey, this is the lair of the X-Men, take him out. Magneto and Psylocke weren't there, so there was a few others that weren't there, but all of them that were there died. He took all of them out, no problem. He's a mass cleanser. That's what we were talking about before. He kills lots and lots of people. One of the people in question, he kills Scarlet Witch, right? So when he kills Scarlet Witch, we got a whole new issue, because at this time in the comics, and one of the biggest things that goes back and forth in the comics is who is Scarlet Witch's parents, right? So at this time in the comics, it was Magneto. So, Nemesis shows up and he kills everybody, and he kills Scarlet Witch. So Mags is like, nah, bro, you are not about to kill my daughter. Absolutely not. So Magneto more or less tracks him down after his campaign of killing all these people, whatever. He gets on them blinders, goes straight for Nemesis, finds him, and he kills the ever-loving crap out of him. But when he kills him, he only destroys his physical body. So he becomes more or less this elemental spirit that's absorbing things around him and spewing it back out constantly. Just essentially cycling through this power, unconsciously doing this stuff, whatever. Lo and behold, Nemesis wakes up on the table of Dark Beast in this suit, right? And Dark Beast is like, so they're rivals, right? They Dark Beast and Nemesis, they're going back and forth trying to get the blessing of Apocalypse. They want to be the number one under Apocalypse. So Nemesis is like, bro, I'm surprised you brought me back. And he's like, well, we need you, whatever. But here's your new suit. This is the situation. And your body is now more or less, you're a ghost skeleton that is just pure elements. And Nemesis is like, man, now, and I find this messed up because of Magneto's Jewish background, but he decides to rebrand himself from then on forward ever as Holocaust, because now he's mad and he wants to get revenge on Magneto. So contextually, that's really messed up, but he's a villain, so they do messed up things, so that makes sense. So anyway, so in the that's the 295 storyline. So the name change, he's only ever Nemesis in the 295, and he changes his name to Holocaust when he gets that suit on. So he is never Nemesis when he has that suit on. But yeah, that's how he becomes Holocaust. And then 295 in the 616. So in Frosty Features Dark Beast, we talked about how Dark Beast used the Macran crystal to transport to the 616. Well, there were a few other mutants in the final battle that did the exact same thing. In Nemesis or Holocaust version, that same situation ended up happening. So some of the people that went, right? So I said that rival under Apocalypse for Nemesis for Holocaust was Dark Beast, but his fighting rival, the person him versus him, Batman and the Joker, Captain American Baron Zemo. I don't know why I had so much trouble thinking of a Marvel equivalent. That's awful. Anyway, his opposite was actually Nate Gray, who is X-Man, who in the 295 in Age of Apocalypse is essentially Mutant Jesus, right? So the people that survived the 295 collapsing and went to the 616 included Dark Beast, Sugar Man, Nate Gray, X-Man, and Holocaust. Right? So Holocaust, his suit is absolutely destroyed. So he becomes his elemental being, right? So when he goes across, he's suspended and stuck in the Macron crystal. Whereas Dark Beast, went to, mess with the Morlocks, and he successfully kind of transported. Whereas Holocaust had his suit completely destroyed. And he was suspended. So Acolytes of Apocalypse find him, like, as more or less floating through space, and they release him, and he wakes up and he's like, hey, and he gives them they give him a new suit, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna kill all of you, and he kills them all. So this is the 295 version in the 616, all before the 616 version even debuts. Right? So this is directly after Age of Apocalypse. We don't see the 616 one until almost 2014, which is, almost 20 years later. So keep that in mind. So we don't actually see the 616 born version of William Rolf. We don't see William Rolfson. We don't see that version, Genocide, until way later. So anyway, so he goes to the 616. There's a few things that he does while in this 616, but ultimately it's just be really cocky and get controlled by other people. He ends up being controlled by these people called the Time Breakers. But what I would like to talk about, so after he kills all the acolytes, he ends up damaging his suit again, and Sebastian Shaw then makes a deal with him, makes a new one, trying to make this new team, and then all while that's with the Time Breakers. And then Hyperion, who is essentially Marvel's Superman. Hyperion is like, at a point, he's like, I'm making a team and everybody's going to be a part of my team because I'm pretty much Superman and I can do that. And so he's making this team called the Exiles, who they go to different timelines and they fix realities that are like fractured. And he's like, he had, if I remember correctly, because I don't think I wrote it down, it was Sabretooth and Mystique as a team, and then he was like, all right, we're gonna Holocaust, you're not supposed to be here, you're from the damaged reality that is 295, you're gonna be in the team. And Holocaust is like, I'm not gonna be in your team, and Hyperion's like, I promise you that you're gonna be in the team. He's on it for a very short period of time, and then of course he tries to kill them all, and Hyperion is like, bro, you're not even on this level. And so Hyperion breaks his suit and he breathes him to death. So in the picture you can see at the bottom there, Hyperion literally breathes in the elemental essence that is Holocaust and kills him. So the 295 dies and then 616 is born after. So the actual one named William Rolfson, etc. is born after. But about 90% of the story Scopely used was from the 295. So it is a... All that to say, Nemesis should be called Holocaust, or Genocide. His story is a harsh mix of the two. That is what it is. Let's move on to power level. So Marvel Strike Force does not care about power levels, but I do. The way we do power levels here is we start off with multiversal. Multiversal means you can end all of reality as everyone knows it. You you can end your dimension and any other dimension, universe, timeline, whatever, at the same time, like a singularity, y'all. Universal, you can end your universe, maybe hop over to another universe, and end that one, moving on, etc., etc. Cosmic means you are a threat on the small end, on a planetary scale. On the high end, maybe you could take out a galaxy or a solar system. Nuclear means you have the power of a nuclear bomb. You take out large amounts of people at once. On the small end, taking out a small city. On the high end, taking out something as large as a planet. Super Soldier. Super Soldier, you are the peak of human existence plus. You are super fast. You are super reflexive. You are super strong, etc. You can easily level a city block, take out buildings, etc. Just with your strength, your might alone. And then there's City. City means you are you are at the peak of human physicality. You have no superpowers, but you are extremely well trained. Absolutely and utterly strong. And then finally we have Greg. Greg is the undead Asgardian that is summoned by Hela in Marvel Strike Force, who used to be much weaker than he is now, but for the sake of argument, we are calling him your basic, average, everyday human being. And if I had some kindergarten trophies and that are wrapped around my hands as some sort of knuckle wrap and some Gatorade, I could theoretically take out Greg. So that's where we're at. So in the case of Nemesis, Holocaust, Genocide, usually the aliases don't stick like this, but this one's important because Nemesis is the least used of the three. In the case of Nemesis, Holocaust, Genocide, how strong are we? We are absolutely, I hinted at it earlier, he is at the nuclear level every bit. He is extremely strong and he's extremely cocky, comes with being a villain and a son of an extremely strong and cocky mutant, but he can back it up most of the time. You don't want to stand up to things like to characters like Hyperion. He could easily destroy a planet, no problem, whereas in the Age of Apocalypse, he, even though Genocide or Holocaust was sent to level essentially entire populations. He was not able to do that on a massive scale at once, kind of putting him at the high end of nuclear, but not quite strong enough to take out an entire planetary body. So that is what we have for Frosty Features Nemesis. I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought about the new section of the feature. Also, to rate Scopely's description, I wanted to add that. So rating Scopely's description, they got things right, but they took two different storylines and twisted them together for their own, which if they have their own universe, that's totally legitimate, but in comic canon, they really screwed it up. I'm gonna give them a solid 3 out of 10 because they at least got some things right. They just got it twisted. So yeah, anyway, Frosty Features Nemesis, I hope you had a good time. Let me know what I missed in the comics. I didn't talk too much about William Rolfson because most of the story comes from the 295 Nemesis. So what William Rolfson stories do you like more? The 2014 genocide. Let me know in the comments. As a reminder, I stream at Twitch at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time at the link above. Come hang out with us. We have a good time. We record Frosty Features live there. Also, please like, subscribe, share. It doesn't cost nothing but a couple of clicks here on YouTube. Really appreciate it. Give your boy a follow on Twitch. Same thing, same stuff. All that to say, y'all, I hope you all keep on playing that Marvel Strike Force. Hope you all have a fantastic, fantastic week. And most importantly, people, stay cool.